But I wanted to start out with the piece that I published this morning over at HartmanReport.com. It's titled Nomad. I keep putting an N in there, and there shouldn't be. It's Nomad Land. Excuse me. No Man Land is, just such a, it's an old word, but Nomad Land, a word that was invented for the movie, exposes the middle-class ripoff. Louise and I had been meaning to watch this movie for quite a while. It won all kinds of awards. Chloe Zhao, I believe, is how her name is pronounced. Put the movie together, directed the movie, just brilliant job. Frances McDormand acts in it. It is a drama, but it is a drama as in fiction. But most of the actors in the movie are actually these people who are living in these RVs, traveling around the country, working at Amazon warehouses and cleaning toilets and God only knows what, struggling to survive, basically. And Frances McDormand plays Fern, the lead character. So it's all based on an actual nonfiction book that was published a number of years ago. I'll get to that in just a moment. But it really hit me personally, and I don't know if any of your growing up had to do with this. This was sort of the my parents' generation. My parents came of age in the 1930s and 40s and died in the early 2000s, and they were. I know that there were a lot of people who were doing the same thing that they were doing because I met them every weekend. When I was a little kid, when I was like 6, 7, 8, 10 years old, every weekend, or nearly every weekend, we'd hop in the back of the station wagon, and we lived in Lansing, and we'd drive someplace. One week it would be Owasso, another week it would be Flint, another week it would be Kalamazoo, another week, and we would drive to these little towns all over central, southern Michigan, northern Michigan. Sometimes we'd go up to Newego, and we'd from there we'd travel to over to Muskegon or up to Traverse City or whatever it may be. And our goal on these weekend trips was to hit as many secondhand stores, Salvation Armies and Goodwills, and some of them just had local names, as many secondhand stores as possible. Because my dad and mom, this is where we got some of our clothes and things from. We were not wealthy. But mostly it was because Mom and Dad were collecting what they called antiques. Mom had this huge button collection. They were looking for small stuff. And the reason they wanted small stuff was because it could fit in an RV. Mom was collecting buttons. Dad was collecting postcards and stamps. They were both collecting small figurines and small pieces of art, things that they thought would appreciate over time, little Hummel figurines. Their house was filled with this stuff. When they died, my brother Stan spent years trying to get rid of this stuff. But their plan for retirement was that, when Dad hit, and I think it was going to be around 62 or something like that, that he had 40 years in with the tool and die shop. He had a good pension that would supplement his Social Security. He had health insurance that would cover him for the rest of his life, although it became basically a Medicare supplement. And he had a pension. Well, I think I just said that. He had a pension that would supplement his Social Security. So they were going to buy an RV and travel all over the country. They'd always wanted, throughout all the years that we were growing up, occasionally we'd have vacations where we'd go someplace, but usually our vacations were just in Michigan. And they wanted to see the Grand Canyon, and they wanted to see the desert in Arizona, and they just, they wanted to see the country. And their plan for how to pay for it was that all along the way they would stop at antique stores and secondhand stores, and they would be selling this stuff that they'd collected for years because it would have appreciated. Now, Dad died young because he got mesothelioma from, the asbestos industry lying to him. Whole nother story. I've told it before on the air. So they never really got to experience that retirement. But there are a lot of people who are kind of doing that, or who are just living in nice RVs around the country, that whole RV living thing. That's not what this movie's about. That's what people think about. But this movie is about people who are hanging on by their fingernails. In many cases, they are homeless, but they are not houseless. They're living in these RVs. And they're sleeping in Walmart parking lots in their RVs. They migrate south and west during the winter, back north and east during the summer. And what we're seeing is that this is like the 2021 version of homelessness. I write in my piece over at HartmanReport.com today about how, Louise and I used to live here in Portland on a house that was on a main street. And, virtually every week we'd wake up one morning and there'd be a new RV parked out in front of the house. Old, beat up, kind of fallen apart RVs, and sometimes we had to clean up their trash from the front yard or hose down their sewage from the street. This is like the grapes of wrath. This is, and it raises some really interesting questions. Why is it that in the richest country in the world we can't provide for people when capitalism fails them? In the movie, the movie starts out with Fern losing her husband and then her job, and then the whole town basically goes broke. Well, why didn't we take care of those folks? They do in Europe. Why have we let our Social Security benefits get so badly eaten up by inflation and, Reagan raising the retirement age and taxing Social Security benefits that people can't live on it anymore? Why is it that in America, when people lose their jobs, like we saw in this movie, Nomadland — have you seen the movie, by the way? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Why is it that when people lose their jobs here, they also lose their health care? And they also get kicked out of college if they can't afford to pay tuition.